Bard Graduate Center is a graduate research institute that is focused on studying the human past through its material remains. Human beings have been ornamenting themselves, decorating their homes, places of worship, really from the beginning of society. And in a way, while decorative arts as a term really refers to the early modern objects of high status, high value, the aristocratic world, and then has a 20th century story that involves the vernacularization, let's say the turning of these into designed ordinary objects. Industrial design carries it out. There is this other part of the world of ornament that is anthropological, that enables us to turn a light onto the way human societies think about themselves and organize themselves. Objects that come to us from the past exist and live outside of that disciplinary matrix. They are simply things that have a history. And if one takes the object as one's starting point, rather than a disciplinary bibliography, one is immediately catapulted into a situation where one needs to draw on a variety of approaches to give a satisfactory explanation as to what that object is, what it did, how it lived. One of the things that we've really worked hard at, and I think been very successful in the last 10 years, is the ever closer integration of the teaching program and the gallery. What we've done here is really understand that in our particular context, studying the past through things, the gallery is really the humanist's laboratory. It's the place we collaborate, it's the place where we step out of narrow disciplinary silos, where we can ask questions that trespass across borders. And so finding ways to connect classroom environments with gallery teaching, bringing out what I would often call the artisanal elements of knowledge. That's to say the way in which curators and exhibition designers have ways of positioning objects, juxtaposing them, to bring out elements of those objects' identities. Those are not things that you can necessarily teach in a course. They certainly don't necessarily fall under the disciplinary rubrics of history or art history, but they are significant for scholarship because we learn through exhibitions that it's important, though too rarely done in academic institutions, to try and find a way of curricularizing the artisanal, right? Finding the elements of the story that are often sub-academic. They're not things that easily find their way into a syllabus or a reading list, and yet are essential, like, for instance, the juxtaposing of objects, or how you light a room, what color paint you might put on the walls. Those are significant elements to our understanding, and by finding ways to bring those questions and decision-making choices into the teaching of our students, we give them a huge professional advantage. I think one of the great advantages of the Bard Graduate Center being based in New York is how close we are to some of the greatest museums in the world. Physically, we are as close to the Museum of Natural History, to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, to the New York Historical Society, as one would be on a college campus. Just 10 minutes walk in either direction can take one to these places, and because of that proximity and because of the close personal as well as institutional relations that Bard Graduate Center has with these places, our classes often meet there, whether in galleries or in collections rooms, in seminars in the different departments of these institutions. And so we can really think about museums as classrooms for our students. The most important aspect of this place is also the most fun aspect, and that's the constant ongoing intellectual conversation that all of us have together. And when I say all of us, I don't mean just the faculty. I mean the faculty with the students and the faculty and the students with the staff. This is a kind of intellectual community, and all of us are here and engaged because we're fascinated by this challenge of understanding the past through its material remains. And that makes our lunchtime talks, the evening seminars, the coffee hours, all of these become what we like to think of as serious but informal opportunities. We're always learning, and we're not hung up on the structures or the formalities. We're really interested in a conversation. In terms of the future, I think the most important thing, following from what we've done already, if what we've done already is not to take seriously disciplinary boundaries, but rather to take seriously the toolkits that disciplines develop for the study of the past, and then to reach into those toolkits as appropriate. The kind of crossing of borders in an appropriate but indiscriminate sort of way. If we've done that intellectually, and if in our social environment here we've curated a whole series of events that allow for a kind of seamless moving between the formal forms of education and the informal ones, I think a next step in this direction would be to involve in our teaching the world of scholars outside of the walls of this institution. So I'd like to see us move to become an even more fluid institution, working with colleagues in other places on an easy, regular basis, collaborating with other institutions, working across the boundary between not just the university world, the academic world, and the museum world, but working much more closely with artists and art institutions, because there's a whole realm of understanding of the world of objects that the people who make the objects will possess in a much more immediate way than we, the scholars. We have to work hard to find out. They have it in their fingertips, so to speak. And we've started to do this, to work much more closely with artists, and I think that's a path which surely we should continue to go down in the future.